the radical, fundamental principles of freedom, rational self-interest, and individual rights. This is the Yaron Brook Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to Yaron Brook Show on this, I think it's Monday. A little confused. Thank you all for joining me. I know it's late, particularly if you're on the East Coast. I'm sure we don't have any Europeans now because it's like, I don't know, early morning. Maybe they're waking up. 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning over there. 5 o'clock in some places. So it's just us, West Coasters, I guess, and maybe some people from the Midwest. Even on the East Coast, it's already 10 p.m. Anyway, busy day today, so I had to make it late. A little tired, so we'll see. We'll see how late we go tonight. We'll see how long we go. Got a busy day tomorrow, and then Wednesday, drum roll please, I fly back home to Puerto Rico, so I'm excited about that. Starting next show, we will be doing our Puerto Rican show. I'm looking forward to that. Better equipment, better bandwidth, just being in Puerto Rico. I enjoy Puerto Rico, so that'll be a lot of fun. Knowing I'm not paying taxes, that's always a good thing. All right, what are we today? We're talking about. Oh my God, we're talking about Hunter Biden. How do you like that? What do you think about that in terms of clickbait? Clickbait. There's no video? Oh, yeah. Thanks. Somebody should have mentioned this earlier. Right? Somebody should have mentioned that you didn't see any video. There's video now. Sorry. No, Puerto Rico's not going to be a state. There's no way Puerto Rico's going to be a state. Democrats, it's too dramatic of a change. They won't do it. They won't have the balls to do it. It's like packing the court. It's stuff that you talk about when you're in the opposition, but when you actually get in a position of power, it's very unusual that these kind of big changes happen. Also, I don't know if you know, but the governor of Puerto Rico endorsed Donald Trump. And a lot of the kind of, I'd say, political elite in Puerto Rico, a lot of the political elite in Puerto Rico are Republicans, or registered Republicans. Now, I don't know if they're registered Republicans because they want to have good relations with the Republican Party, or they're registered Republicans because they believe it, or I don't know. But and the people likely to win election in this coming election in Puerto Rico in November are registered Republicans. So I'm not sure that Democrats want to risk that, right? It's a real risk. Well, if Puerto Rico, somebody says you could become a senator, if Puerto Rico becomes a state, I'm not staying. I lose my tax advantage if Puerto Rico becomes a state. So I would probably leave. I'm not sure where I'd go, but I would probably leave. So let's hope, for my sake, you can all hope, that Puerto Rico does not become a state anytime soon. If I put Alex Jones in the title, I'll get a lot of views. Maybe. I think I've done a show on Alex Jones. I think I've commented on Alex Jones. It would be easy enough to do something on Alex Jones. Stick him in the title. I mean, Hunter Biden's in the title. We've already got above normal. Only 4 minutes into the show, we've already got above normal viewership. So yeah, I mean, clickbait works. What can you do? I'm now moving to Guam. What's Guam? No. I mean, Puerto Rico's at least civilized and within flying distance to civilization. So no Guam. All right, today we're going to talk about political corruption. We're going to talk a little bit about Hunter Biden. I don't have that much to say about Hunter Biden. I mean, it might shock you, but the Russians don't leak any new information through me. Neither the Republicans, neither the Democrats, neither anybody. So I have nothing to say about Hunter Biden that you have probably not heard somewhere else. I have nothing new to say. I have nothing original to say. I have no information that nobody else has. I'll tell you my opinion about whether Hunter Biden is corrupt or not in a minute, but it's based on my general view of corruption in government, not on any particular information that I might have about the Hunter Biden case. I find it fascinating that people love to talk about stuff they know nothing about. They have nothing to add. They know nothing. additional, and yet they can pontificate on something like Hunter Biden for hours and hours and hours without really basically reading the New York Post article, which you all can read if you want to, if you so choose. All right, so that's a quick summary of the Hunter Biden thing. New York Post broke the story. I guess there's a laptop, emails. They've got access to emails that suggest that in Ukraine, Hunter Biden, and you guys can correct me because you probably are more up to speed on the Hunter Biden story than I am. Anyway, that Hunter Biden introduced certain people within Ukraine to his father. The assumption there is that those introductions had to do with money. Hunter Biden, of course, was on the board of directors of a Ukrainian company. Then a separate line of story is that Hunter Biden went with his father to China on Air Force Two, and in China he had coffee with a well-known Chinese businessman. At least that's what he claims, that he had coffee with him. About a week later, he was appointed to a board of a new private equity fund that was approved by the Chinese government, and he's on the board of this fund. And again, the assumption is that he's on the board not because he knows anything necessarily, but he's on the board because he has connections and because he's the son of the vice president of the United States, and that but can buy contacts for the Chinese, and therefore, basically he was a conduit to access his father for favors with regard to China, and he did the same thing in Ukraine. Now, on top of that, I guess there's stories about him using drugs, but I think those are old stories. I think we've known he's used this drug for a long time. And of course, most of the stuff about Hunter Biden was all investigated by the Republicans in the Senate or the House. One of the committees investigated this, and it was all made available during the impeachment. So during the impeachment, Trump tried to shift the discussion to Hunter Biden with regard to Ukraine. And of course, the impeachment to a large extent was about Trump trying to put pressure on the Ukrainians to investigate Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and potentially holding back weapons that had been approved by Congress, holding them back illegally as a way to put leverage on the Ukrainian government to investigate his political opponents. Now, you probably noticed that I didn't talk much about the impeachment. I didn't talk much about what Trump did. I didn't talk much about Hunter Biden then, although I did a little bit. And I haven't talked much about it since, because I find it all really, really, really boring. I mean, is any of this shocking to anybody? Let's assume it's all true. Is anybody surprised there's influence peddling going on in Washington, D.C.? Is there a son or daughter of any vice president who is not taking advantage of the fact that they were the son or daughter of the vice president, or even better, the president? Is there anybody here who thinks that the Trump business and the Trump children have not benefited from the fact that Donald Trump is president? Does anybody think there is a politician in Washington, D.C. who is not at least somewhat corrupt in the sense of a favor here, an appropriations there, an additional something good for the farmers over here? I mean, isn't it true that we passed lots and lots of money to give to farmers so that they wouldn't feel the pain of the tariffs that Trump had imposed, and in a sense by their silence, so they would continue voting for him? Is that not political corruption in some way? I mean, what is this pretense? I mean, how many politicians do you know go into government poor and come out of the other side rich? Do you think AOC, if she ever leaves government, will return to being a bartender? Do you think that any of these politicians ever? Now, some of them are so corrupt that there's literally cash found in their refrigerator. There have been a number of congressmen that are caught with suitcases full of cash. And that's one level of corruption, and I think there's quite a bit of that going on. But then there's other levels of corruption of people buying them stuff and people putting money for them for when they retire, and all kinds of shenanigans are constantly going on. And people getting jobs for relatives, people, all kinds of stuff, constantly. They go into the inn and they come out rich, and if they don't come out immediately rich, they get rich very quickly. Why do they get rich very quickly? Because somebody on Wall Street or somebody in business or some lobbyist will hire them immediately, right as soon as they retire, so that they can lobby their friends to pass bills that favor whatever business this is. I mean, really? They're all corrupt. Biden's a crooked family? Maybe. I don't know. Hunter seems crooked. I don't know how deep it goes. But they're all crooks. Trump is not a crooked family. And put aside Trump, the Bushes who have had the governor of Texas, the governor of Florida, they've got nieces and nephews in all kinds of political places, and they've obviously been two presidents. And you think that family has never done favors to anybody? Has never gotten any favors from anyone? Ever? Nowhere? Not a better real estate deal? Not a discount at a country club membership? Never? None of that? Nothing happens? Not board seats? You think these people are super talented? That's why they sit on boards? You think they're super talented? That's why they get hired by Wall Street firms when they retire from politics? Yeah, Biden's family's been in politics longer, so they're probably more corrupt. That's absolutely true. And the Clintons and the Bushes have been even longer, so they're probably even more corrupt. So the problem here is not, how big a super chat do I need to go away forever? There's no size super chat that will make me go Zeben64. It keeps coming back. I find it wonderful that the people who hate me the most keep coming back to listen to me. Maybe you should actually do a super chat. Maybe contribute a little money for me. Not only are you helping my stats, but by being here, but maybe you should put a few dollars in. That would be real self-sacrifice. But, I'm so awful that you want to continue to hear my voice. 100 million? No, I'm not going away. I mean, the whole beauty of having 100 million is to be able to buy a whole TV channel so I can dominate the airwaves, so Zeben64 won't be able to ever escape my voice. All right. By the way, since you remind me, if you disagree with Zeben, then show some love on the super chat. Show him that there are people here that actually value what I do. Disagree or agree, think that there's a value here. And you can do that by making a small contributions or a large contribution on the super chat right now. So, and of course, don't forget to like the show. There's 60 likes, 112 people watching live. So we can certainly get those likes up. But yeah, show some love with the super chat, even if it's a small amount, just to tell Zeben64 to go to hell. Politics is corrupt. It's corrupt at the state level. It's corrupt at the local level. It's corrupt at the federal level. It is all about the politics of pull. Ayn Rand discussed this years ago, decades ago. And yeah, by the way, the Bidens are corrupt. What's new? So is almost everybody. And the source of this corruption is the power that we have given our government. When you give people the kind of power that our government has, when you give people the power over every aspect of our economy, when you give people the power, thank you guys, really appreciate that. When you give people the power over the economic fate of companies, when you give people the power to, in a sense, print $1 trillion, when you give people the power to decide where bridges will be built, where factories will be made, who gets permission to build what, when, where, and how, when you give people the power to do foreign aid, why are we even giving Ukraine money? Of billions and billions and billions of dollars. When you give people the power over a purse of trillions of dollars, then of course you're going to get corruption. The power-lusting politicians are not just going to write checks for billions and billions of dollars and not take a cut when a cut is offered, when a cut is convenient. And we don't care. We elect them anyway. We don't care about the corruption. I mean, Hillary was super corrupt. And did the Democrats have any problem nominating her? No. Simon from Iceland hasn't been around for a long time. We're missing Simon. I'm missing Simon. I don't know about you guys, but I'm missing Simon. Simon used to come in, drop $1,000 or $2,000 and go away. And he hasn't been around in a while. When you give politicians the power over people's lives, over the power over people's livelihood, the power to decide what is done with property and what is not done with property. If you know a politician, and let's say you're worried about your property being defined a wetland, are you going to call that politician and say, hey, look, buddy, we went to school together, and you're my buddy, and I'll buy you a beer next time, and I'll buy you a house. I'll pay for your kid's college. Please, can you just call somebody and arrange for my property not to be defined as a wetlands or whatever? Well, of course you would do it. And you think the politician can say, no, I have integrity. I don't do that. I don't do special favors. Of course they do special favors. They all do special favors. All at all of these agencies. And they all do it because they want to pad their bank account. They want to make their friends like them. They want to be able to strut around town as the big boss of the town. And they want to project power. People want them. People need them. People grovel before them. People are willing to help them out because they're the big shots. It's part of giving government this kind of power. Wagner of the Desert says, please invite Douglas Murray and Godside. Yeah, I'm thinking of inviting Godside to come on the show. He's got a new book out. I need to check out his new book, and then I'll invite him on. What is aid to help our allies defend their borders? Well, it depends. Is the aid to defend their borders against real threats that are a threat to us as well? Is Russia a threat to the United States? I don't think so. Is Ukraine an ally of the United States? I don't think so. I don't think we need to give Ukraine aid. I mean, I'd rather they win than the Russians win, but it's not yours to give as a politician. It's my money. I want to give aid to Ukraine. I could write a check to Ukraine. You could start a foundation to fund the Ukrainian army. Thank you, Paul. That is really, really generous. I appreciate that. Particularly these days. The closer they get to the election, the more hate I get, the more hate mail I get. Makes life fun. So foreign aid should be only allocated when it is clearly and unequivocally in the self-interest of the United States. But self-interest as defined properly, self-interest as defined in the context of protecting the individual rights of Americans. Okay, so I think politics is corrupt through and through. I think the Bidens are corrupt. I think the Bushes are corrupt. I think the Clintons are corrupt. Man, are they corrupt and disgusting. I mean, disgusting human beings. They're all. I mean, we have a political class. I mean, in that sense, Trump was right. Yes, you heard it here. I said Trump was right. There is a swamp in Washington. Now, I think Trump is part of that swamp. He just wants to put his swamp animals instead of the other guy's swamp animals. But it's a swamp in Washington. It's a corrupt swamp in Washington. When Hillary Clinton gets $250,000 to give a talk, and not just her, former congressman, because while they're congressmen, they're not allowed to get paid for speeches. But once they leave, they get paid. Why do they get paid when they leave? So that they can go back and influence. And I don't blame the businesses for doing it. I don't blame the businesses for doing it. Thank you, Jennifer, for Zeben to go to Hades. Excellent. I don't blame businesses for trying to defend themselves. Businesses that hire former politicians to lobby. I know a lot of those. I mean, it's a very lucrative job to go to politics. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that it's lucrative to go into politics? But that's because, I mean, I've given the example in the past of Willie Brown. Willie Brown, who was Speaker of the House in the state of California. Famous Willie Brown, because Willie Brown is the guy who slept with Kamala Harris and who gave her first position in the Democratic Party and first positions, in politics in California, and really made her career later on. That Willie Brown. Willie Brown came into politics with nothing, and has left politics super wealthy. How does that happen? Now, it might not be suitcases under the table. It might very well be just the fact that he's influential, so people are willing to pay him $200,000 to give a speech. I don't know how much they pay Willie Brown. They pay $250 for Hillary. Why? Because they have influence. You're buying influence. So I think this outrage about this person being corrupt or that person being corrupt, unless you're really willing to take them on, to take the swamp on, to take the corruption on, to rid our government of corruption, forget it. And there's only one way to rid the government of corruption. Only one way. It's not to put Hunter Biden in jail, although I have no problem with him going to jail. The only way to rid the government of corruption is to reduce its power. It's to reduce its influence. It's to reduce its size. It's to reduce the amount of money they spend and the amount of control over our lives that we have. So if you want to eliminate government corruption, the way to do that is separate government from economics. Get the government out of our lives. Get the government out of the decision making. Stop foreign aid. Stop trade deals. Trade deals are just ways for our government to give favors to our people and their government to give favors for their people. We lose. The only trade policy we should have is zero tariffs, except with enemies, and then we should ban trade with them. And that's easy. Like 3 countries that are enemies, ban trade with them, zero tariffs with everybody else. That's trade policy. That's it. And then there's no corruption in trade. Instead of a tax code filled with a gazillion loopholes because certain industries lobbied and paid off certain legislatures to get those loopholes installed in the bills, no loopholes. Zero corporate tax would do it, or a flat corporate tax with no deductions, except basic expenses. Now, there's some question about what basic expenses are, but best is just a zero corporate tax, and then a flat income tax on with no deductions, no exclusions, nothing. That's how you get rid of. That's how you get rid of corruption. It's not about revelations about this politician or that politician. this person or that person. Again, I have no doubt that Hunter Biden is corrupt. Hunter Biden strikes me as an incompetent nothing. Why would anybody put him on a board of directors in Ukraine, of all places? What's his connection to Ukraine? Other than his father was vice president. Why would he be in a private equity fund? In China, I am probably more qualified to be on the board of a private equity fund in China than Hunter Biden. What are his qualifications? He has one. He knows people in Washington. That's the qualification. It's not necessarily even his father. He's connected to Washington. Does politics attract bad people, or does the politics of a mixed state corrupt them? Both. So it's not, I don't think politics has to attract bad people. But the politics of a mixed economy, a politics where politicians have power, real power, and real opportunities for corruption, will attract bad people. And then I think some people go to Washington, basically good, basically uncorrupt, basically in their own way, right? Not from my perspective, from their perspective, with good intentions. And the power corrupts them. Suddenly they have to decide whether their constituency gets the factory, whether, they're getting calls, and this person versus that person. They have to make choices. They have to make trade-offs. I was with on Friday, I gave this talk in Connecticut. I think I told you about it. And one of the people who is an organizer of this event has become a friend. He is a former congressman from Colorado. And I've known him now for 15 years, 16, 17 years, I think. 17 years. He's listening to me speak about individual rights, about capitalism, about these things. And I think I've had a real impact on him. He's a former congressman. He ran for the Senate in Colorado and lost as a Republican. And but he is becoming more and more and more free market, more and more consistently free market. And he tells the story of, you go to Washington, let's say you're committed to free markets, but then there's a bill. And the bill is pretty bad. It's a bad bill. It's a budget or something else, or some kind of appropriations bill. And it's really bad. And everybody comes to you and says, look, you have to vote for this bill. And you say, but it sucks. It's crummy. It's an awful bill. And they say, yeah, but if we don't vote for this bill, then the other side will get this other bill, and it's much worse. So you've got to vote for crappy bill because the other bill is worse. So you vote for it. And once you start compromising like that, once you start voting for things you know are bad because you're told, oh, it could be worse, it's a slippery slope. And then there are the favors, the requests. I remember my dad was a doctor in Israel, socialized medicine. And everything is political, right? So he gets a call once, I think, from the mayor of the city, who says, I really need you to see my wife or my son. I can't remember the details, but, there's a long line. The waiting list is 2 weeks. Can you put me in the front of the line? And my dad says, no. And the guy flips out. Nobody says no to him. He's the mayor. And my dad refused to do it. And he got into trouble because politics controls the business you're in, and you're going to get into trouble. Is the fact that my dad's a doctor a big deal? I don't know. My dad is a doctor in socialized medicine Israel. So it's we need to make politicians impotent. Not physically impotent, politically impotent. We need to reduce government to its proper function. And the function is the function of the protector of individual rights, not the violator of. Not a central planner, not an organizer. not national industrial policy, not a negotiator of trade deals, not a negotiator of much of anything. Police, military, judiciary, protect our property rights, protect our lives, and leave us alone. And then there's no corruption in government. Then I don't think politics attracts bad people. Politics has the potential to attract good people, people who want to do good. But only if, in a sense, the government is structured for them to do good. If the government is structured for them to do bad, then it will attract bad people. And our government is structured for them to do bad because the government is structured for them to run our lives, to manage our finances, to manage our jobs, to tell us what we can and cannot do, how we can and cannot live, what we should and shouldn't do. And as long as the government has that kind of power, it is corrupting. It is destructive. It will attract bad people. Bad people with bad ideas, bad people with bad intentions. People who want to control, people who want to rule, people who want power over you, and people who want to make money from it, or want to make at least prestige off of it, who want to be corrupt. So that's what I have to say about political corruption. And I'm sorry, I know what you really wanted me to do is dig up new dirt on Biden, on Hunter Biden. Dirt I don't have. Dirt I'm sure exists somewhere. And I don't know if these allegations are true or not. I don't know if this is a Russian plant or not. I have no idea, and I don't really care that much. This is not what matters in this election. This election is not about who's more corrupt or who's less corrupt or about the corruption of government. Nobody running right now for president or for Senate gives one iota about corruption, cares one iota about corruption, and has done anything to weed out corruption. So why would this be an issue when they're all like this? You know, who has integrity in politics today? Now, I didn't want to comment on the hysteria around Twitter not linking to the New York Post. Now, I don't know why Twitter didn't link to the New York Post. Maybe because they're politically biased. Maybe because they thought it was a bad article and wasn't sourced properly. Maybe because there were some privacy concerns. I don't know. Probably a bad mistake for Twitter. Probably bad PR. Probably not a good business decision for them. Probably shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Trying to figure out whether my links to my posts in Twitter that link to articles are okay articles or not okay articles. I mean, they have to have some standards, but you'd think they have better standards than this. But it's their platform. They can do whatever the hell they want. They can ban me from Twitter tomorrow if they want. It's their platform. It's their right. If we don't acknowledge that, then we don't stand for property rights anymore. We certainly don't stand for free speech. Because it is government that violates our free speech. It's only government that can censor in the sense of use force to stop speech. And if the government starts regulating Twitter, that's exactly what they will be doing. They will be regulating speech, which is a violation of free speech. You don't like Twitter? You don't like their decision? Go to Parler. Parler's booming, I hear. You know, Amy Peikoff has a senior position over there. So go and support Parler instead of Twitter. And yeah, absolutely, we should criticize them. We should criticize them on bad decisions. We should criticize them on not having a clear policy of what they will allow and what they won't allow, that their policy is too vague and too ambiguous. We can criticize them for having political bias. That's great. We should criticize them. Do all of that. But to call it censorship, to call for government regulations, as many of your favorite Senator Ted Cruz did, that's just absurd, wrong, anti-capitalist, anti-free market, anti-property rights, anti-free speech. Anti-free speech. And by the way, I find it interesting. So I'm on YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. YouTube right now. You can see mine. And I don't monetize these long shows because I don't want them to have a bunch of commercials in them. So when you guys watch the tape show, I don't want you to have to go through the commercials. But I do monetize the short videos. Right? All my short videos get monetized. And it's interesting that some of my short... So one of the accusations against YouTube is that they are politically biased and that they don't like the right. And as a consequence, they don't monetize kind of right-wing videos, right? So they don't monetize certain people. And this is Prager's complaint against YouTube, that some of his videos are not monetized. Now, some of my videos are not monetized. But I find it really interesting which ones are not monetized. Like, in recent weeks, the only 2 videos that were not monetized were 2 videos I did on abortion. Now, I think you all know that I'm pro-abortion. Yes, I said pro-abortion. And yet they didn't monetize those videos. You'd think that if they had a clear left-wing agenda, if their agenda was just to silence the right and to go full throttle with the left, they would have monetized the 2 videos about abortion where they agree with me, supposedly. Other videos that haven't been monetized, some of them when I deal with race, but some that I've dealt with race were monetized. Some of my anti-racist is racism videos, some of my white fragility videos. Some of those were monetized, which shocked me, really surprised me. Other stuff isn't, for no apparent reason that I can tell. By the way, generally when I talk about sex, they won't monetize it. So I don't know what their criteria is. But at least for me, and I'm not speaking for other people on YouTube, it doesn't seem to be based on a left or right wing overall thing. There's certain issues that they don't like. Right? And yeah, again, they're right. I mean, I love it. YouTube actually, I put up videos, right? YouTube sends their minions out to find advertisers to advertise on my video. They get a cut, I get a cut. I do no work other than click a button that I wanted monetized. Why wouldn't I say, hey, if you can find me people to monetize it, great. If you can't, yeah. If you don't want to, that's okay too. Your platform, your choice. So, I really, I'm defending Twitter on the basis of property rights. I'm defending YouTube on the basis of property rights. And on the basis of free speech, by the way. They have a right, as part of their free speech rights, to have said whatever they want on their platform. If somebody comes into your house, let's say you're a big Trump supporter, if I come to your house and I start spouting anti-Trump stuff, you can tell me to leave. You can tell me I don't want anti-Trump stuff in my house. And that's within your rights. You're not suppressing my speech. You're confirming your right to your speech. So, all right. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's all I had for today. All I had. We've got a few super chat questions. We can go over them. We can then see. Where we go from there. Happy to pick up on any topics you guys want. All right, I have no idea how much money this is. I guess you can tell by the color, right? By the color. All right, let's do some of the $20 ones. Let's see if there's any ones relevant. Yeah, we don't want a government department deciding what we can and cannot say. That's a violation of free speech. And that's what people want the government to be able to have that position with Twitter and Facebook. If Twitter suppresses something that protects the reputation of one person, Shouldn't they be responsible for libel if they allow misinformation about someone else? No, because it's not them libeling to someone else. It's the person that is saying the misinformation. The fact that you allow it, and I don't know why they're doing it. Did they do it in order to protect the reputation of Biden? Or did they do it to protect privacy of certain people whose emails were revealed in the article? Did they do it because they're just leftists and they want Biden to win and they don't want it to be announced? It's not the case that by excluding certain content, you become the equivalent of a publisher and therefore the content is yours and therefore you can be sued for libel. Being a publisher involves much more than excluding. There are lots of businesses out there that exclude. For example, if you own a movie theater, you might be an atheist and you tell Mel Gibson when he does one of his Christian movies, "No, I'm not showing your movie here." Is he a publisher because he's excluding the Mel Gibson movie? No, to be responsible for libel, you have to literally have editorial control, which is more than just exclusionary. It means these are reporters you hired. It means you're editing what they write. It means in the publishing world that you're actually fact-checking them. But here, none of that happens. I mean, I publish stuff all the time on Twitter, which I think offends Twitter. And they don't stop it. Now, again, they have a political agenda. They want to get Biden elected. All right. Guess what? The New York Post has a political agenda. It wants to get Trump elected. I mean, all these businesses, unfortunately, today have become politicized. And why have they become politicized? Because politicians have so much power. It goes back to this issue of the only way we can get politics out of our lives, the only way we can reduce political corruption is by limiting the power and the scope of government, by returning to a limited government. And this is one of my big objections to Trump. The Republican Party used to give at least lip service to the limited government. With Trump, there is no lip service to limited government. With Trump, it's limited only by his whim, by his preferences on that day. He will expand government whenever he feels like it, and he will shrink government somewhere else whenever he feels like it. There is zero principle around limiting the scope of government. Now, Democrats, we know, don't believe in a limited scope of government. But at least they used to be an opposition party. And there is no opposition party because of Trump. And I can't support him if that's the kind of political party he is creating, he is making. All right. So Cory Gardner seems pretty clean. Did you see the pic with the crack pipe? Isn't that evidence of his ineptitude and evidence his dad got him jobs? Yeah, I said so. I mean, no, by the way, is everybody who's ever smoked crack inept? I don't think so. So, did I tell you the story? I don't remember if I told you the story. I'm at a conference. It's a conference of really, really high-powered people. So these are Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, Wall Street types, but not of the big firms like the smaller firms. But everybody is super successful at this conference. I don't know what I was doing there, but most of them are in business. A few intellectuals like me, but most of them are in business. And at the dinner time, you sit around the table with like 8 other people, and there's a moderator at dinner, and they introduce topics, and there's a discussion that happens at dinner. And the whole conference, you're constantly interacting, constantly talking. And at some point, the issue of drugs come up. And we go around the table, and everybody talks about the drugs they take. Now, these are all unbelievably successful individuals. And you go about it, and everybody who's from Silicon Valley is taking, what do you call it? LSD. Like drugs, various doses. But they say, no, we dedicate like a few weekends a year, and we just do LSD that weekend, or we do mushrooms that weekend, or we do some drug that weekend. That's what we do. Rest of the time, high-functioning Silicon Valley types creating and producing and making stuff. The Wall Street guys are saying, oh, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. And this is serious. They're not joking. There's actually been books written about it, and they're actually advocating this is good for you. The Wall Street guys say, no, we do cocaine. It's much more fun. It's much more fun. You get a quick high. We do cocaine. We do that. Yeah, also, we don't do it all the time. We dedicate time for this. And then the one guy says, in our family, it's a problem. What's the problem? He says, well, I'm from Wall Street. I do cocaine. My wife's from Silicon Valley. She does LSD and stuff. And, it's hard for us to decide when is what and when is where. It's, whoa. And I'm like, I did pot once. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. And they're talking about you're missing out. This enhances our production. There's a whole theory of it. So I don't know. A lot of very successful people do drugs. I discovered. I didn't know this, but it turns out. I don't think it's good for them. I don't think they're happier for it. I don't think they're more successful for it. But a lot of them do drugs. So the fact that he does cocaine or coke or whatever, or crack or whatever, I think it's stupid. I think it's ridiculous. But that in and of itself. And then, do I think his father got his jobs? Yeah. I think they did. I think half the fathers in politics get their sons' jobs. I have respect for people who maybe hide their family name so that the people that hire him don't know. Okay, crack is worse. All right, so the real problem with the Biden family is one of the Biden sons did crack. Who cares? Why is Hunter Biden doing crack an issue in the election when his father's running, not him? If he was running, I'd see it as an issue. Why is it an issue? All right, crack is... LSD is 8 hours of laughter for some people, not everybody. Not everybody. Different people respond to it differently. Yeah, somebody says nothing wrong with letting it loose and doing a little crack. I doubt that. I think there's something a lot wrong with that. But again, why is that an issue? He's not running for president. He's not even running for dog catcher. Do you know Dr. Peikoff's reason for voting Trump over Biden? I agree with your statements about Trump. I'm curious to know. He didn't give reasons. I could speculate on his reasons, but I'm not going to. It's the Leonard Peikoff. I would never speculate about Leonard's reasons. I respect him too much. If he wants to give us reasons, he will give us reasons. Otherwise, just take it that he's voting for Trump. I obviously disagree with him on that, but I talked about it. When was it? Yesterday? Well, Saturday. Saturday show, I talked about it. I did a whole 15 minutes, I think, on Dr. Peikoff, on my relationship with him, and on this. So if you want, go back to Saturday's show, and it's relatively early in the show, so you'll get it relatively early. Was Kant a psychopath, or was he just anxious and insecure about the radical changes taking place due to the Enlightenment and his philosophy was latched onto by psychopaths? Have you ever personally met a psychopath? I don't know if Kant was a psychopath. I have no reason to think he was or wasn't. I have no interest in assessing his psychology. I don't know. Other than I know that, yes, he viewed in some deep sense the Enlightenment as a threat to everything he believed in and everything he stood for, and he rejected it and argued or created a philosophy to try to eradicate it. But whether it was a psychopath or not, and I don't even know the people who latched onto his philosophy as psychopath. Was Karl Marx a psychopath? I don't think so. I don't think psychopath is that useful of a term unless it's diagnosed clinically. I don't think you can just look at somebody and say, is Trump a psychopath? Is Biden a psychopath? I have no idea. I wouldn't even know how to start to think about it. You'd have to be an expert in the field to be able to diagnose something like that. I certainly can't. And I can't diagnose that for somebody who lived 200-something years ago and who I never met. And no. Don't, and it's not, there's no point in the speculating, because what interests us is not Kant. What interests us is his philosophy and what it's done. and what the consequences are. Right? Somebody says, I don't care about the content of the emails. I mean, the content of the emails don't surprise me. Influence peddling. Why is anybody surprised by this? As I said before, everybody does it. This is what people do when they get into politics. They peddle influence. It's why a lot of people go into politics. It's attractive. You have a sense of power. There are very few people, I think, today who go into politics who are, care, who are doing it because they have a real agenda. They have a real ideas. They want to make change in the world. And even they, I think, get corrupted. Will a genocide like World War II happen again in our lifetime? I don't know. I mean, the Houthis and the Tutsis slaughtered each other not that long ago. That's in our lifetime. Will that happen again? Maybe. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say because the world's generally moving in the right direction, but that's not exactly true, and it's certainly not true of certain places. So it could happen. I hope not, but I don't know. This is a question from yesterday that relates to what we talked about. I watched economics explained on YouTube about California. The richest zip codes are not in California and New York. But the richest zip codes in America, and this is absolutely true, are in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. How does one take advantage of corruption? How does one gain influence, wealth, to be and be honest, independent? So, why are D.C., Maryland, and Virginia the richest counties in the country if there's no corruption in Washington, D.C.? I mean, part of it is it's all the government contractors, but isn't that essentially corruption? And part of it is corruption, and a lot of the politicians live really, really well in Washington, D.C., eat in really, really nice restaurants. So yes, I think the very fact that the richest zip codes are in D.C., Maryland, and VA tells you something about the state of corruption of our government. And the fact that today it's not about wealth creation, it's about wealth distribution. And you can make a lot of money by being part of the wealth redistribution machine, which is what we have there today. How does one gain influence, wealth, and be honest, independent? Well, gain wealth by producing. I mean, I think that most of the people the guy who, created the company Zoom and all of that. I mean, he's become a billionaire. He was honest and independent, as far as I know. So, yeah, they're dishonest people who create wealth, but there are lots of people. Most of the wealth in this country is still held by people who are honest and independent. I think most of the entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley are honest and independent. They might be wrong. They might be seriously flawed philosophically, but most of them are honest and independent. All right. If another business develops an idea unprotected by the current law, when is it immoral for me to use it? Was Bill Gates' copy of the first graphical UI ethical? By the way, how can both IP arbitration and state separation from ideas work in practice? Well, IP is not ideas. And there are very strict rules of what counts as intellectual property. And you have to apply for it and you have to protect it. But if property is abandoned, it is completely moral to use it. So if there's a business idea that's not being used, I mean, Steve Jobs first saw I don't think it's Bill Gates, I think it's Steve Jobs, first saw the graphical user interface at Xerox. I think it was Xerox. And then used it. Xerox didn't have a patent on it, didn't have any intellectual protection on it. And of course, he made it his own. He took it and made something of his own. If you don't protect your property, the message you're sending people is they can use it. And that's true of intellectual property. Intellectual property is not ideas. It's a book. It's a patent for a particular device. That's not an idea. Right? So you still have the separation of ideas from state from ideas, and you can protect intellectual property rights as long as they are really property rights. Yeah, Xerox invented the mouse, but they didn't patent it, so other people used it. That's fine. All right. Do you think that the situation with COVID will have a lasting psychological impact on the country? Yes, I do. I mean, COVID has shown us that the country is in much worse shape than we thought it was psychologically. And I think it will make the country worse off psychologically. It has shown the country to be afraid. It has shown the country to be panicked, to be accepting of authoritarianism. It has shown the country to be distrusting of science. It has shown the country to be non-objective and frazzled and I mean, I think crazy. But the worst is that it's shown the country to be willing to be ruled. It's been willing to accept authoritarian behavior, authoritarian, decrees. So yeah, and I think that the fact that we were all locked down, the fact that the fact that we are afraid, the fact that we don't trust anybody, is on both sides. So the side that thinks, oh, COVID is a scam, all the way to the side that thinks that everybody should be locked in their home for the next 6 months and not go anywhere, and that we should mandate that and mandate them to wear masks in their home while they're by themselves. Both sides of this are scarred by these ideas. And it's just going to exacerbate the tribalism, and it's going to exacerbate the sense of paranoia. It's going to exacerbate the sense of somebody is trying to screw me. It's somebody else's fault. So I think we're much closer again to authoritarianism. I think Trump took us one step towards there. Obama did originally, but Trump took us a big step forward. And now COVID and our response to it has taken us another big step towards authoritarianism. So I've said this before. The last 4 years, I'm more scared for American liberty than I've ever been, ever before. When I look into history, it's never been this bad. It's never been this critical to raise your voice, to fight against the authoritarian nature of what's going on around us. And to fight for objectivity, for truth, for facts, for reality, because neither side seems to have that. And for limited government, I mean, Republicans don't have that, certainly Trump doesn't. Somebody said, Lex Friedman, any day now. That's all I can say. I did the interview. It was 3 hours. I thought it was terrific. I think it was one of my best interviews ever. I think he asked great questions. I think it turns out that he's a fan. I didn't know that. That came as a shock to me. We'll see. We'll see when it comes out. We'll see what the response is. I'm excited for it to come out and to see kind of the response to it. And I'm excited to know Lex and to do more stuff with him in the future. Somebody says, I wonder why Michael Malice keeps jabbing you on his show. I think he does it because that's what he does. And I think part of what he likes is to be seen as cool. He'll make fun of anybody. He'll make fun of Ayn Rand. He'll make fun of objectivism. He'll make fun of Iran. He'll make fun of himself. He'll make fun of anybody. I mean, it's part of the cool factor. That's why he has 20 times more people than I do as subscribers. And I don't know Malice. We've never met. He's never met me. I've never met him. I don't know him that much. But it is what it is. But part of his shtick is to troll. He says that. Part of his shtick is to troll. And I think part of his shtick is to make fun of me because, he thinks of me as some humorless, humorless, dogmatic, objectivist, obnoxious objectivist. Yeah. So he has, he had these weird comments on Ayn Rand on Lex Friedman's show, where he, the first thing he said was, ask Yaron to tell a joke about Ayn Rand. Why would I tell a joke about Ayn Rand? What's the point? I don't tell jokes about people I like. I'm not opposed to telling a joke about Ayn Rand if there was a tasteful joke about Ayn Rand. But what is the point? Why is that a value? Why is that essential? Right? But that's the kind of culture. That's the kind of mentality. If you're not willing to knock everything down, humor is about knocking things down. If you're not willing to knock everything down, then you're dogmatic. No, I first of all, I don't tell jokes. Period. I never told a joke. I don't retain jokes. People tell me jokes, I forget them. I don't retain jokes. I tell jokes. So I only like certain comedies. In comedies that are stupid or that make fun of things that I don't think should be made fun of, I don't like. So humor is a whole topic. Dr. X0079 says he's got an Ayn Rand joke. This is going to be good. If somebody says it's like going up to Toscanini and making fun of Mozart or Beethoven, even worse. Why would you do that? What is interesting about that? What does it say about you to do that? Now, hanging around and you kind of, relaxed and everything, and you're telling jokes to one another. I never do that because I don't tell jokes, but I've got friends who tell me jokes all the time, and that's fun. All right, guys. We can still do Super Chat if you want, so it's still early. But you have to do the Super Chat to do that. And, of course, the more dollars you put on the Super Chat, the more likely it is for me to answer. Let's see. Don't forget to like the show before you leave. We should be over 100 likes right now. And don't forget to subscribe. I keep forgetting to ask you to subscribe. Please subscribe. Please let your friends know about the show and subscribe. We need to get subscriptions up. They've kind of growth of subscription has really slowed down. Let's really do a push around subscriptions. We need to get the show out there beyond the core people who listen to it. Now, about 2,000 people watch the show. And I'd like to get that out beyond those 2,000 people. And you do that by getting new subscribers. So please get the word out there. Get new people. Tell your friends or your enemies or whatever about this. Stephen writes, I worked in the theater business, plays, musicals, concerts, etc. before the pandemic started. We're all shut down, and the consensus of the community is the theater is dead until we're all vaccinated. What do you think? I think that's right, unfortunately. My son was in theater business, in a theater comedy business in LA, and his theater's gone. It's shut down, and who knows when it'll open. It probably will not open until there's a vaccine, and even then, it's going to be a rough ride. It's going to be a rough time for people in any business that requires other people to congregate. Theater, cinemas are really, 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 really rough. Ragnar the Desert gives us some info about Lex. So Lex has posted number 131 with Chris Leitner. He posts one new interview a week. He said he interviewed 6 people, including Yaron, when he came to LA. So 2 down, and we will see Yaron in the next 4 weeks. So I'll be on anytime in the next 4 weeks. I have no idea what order he does them in, but I'm looking forward to it. Having a capacity for reverence equals humorless. Yeah. I like laughing at other. Some people have jokes about me, which I find quite funny. So what's his name? Raka Ali, his whole skits where he imitates me, makes fun of me, and I think they're funny. And I don't find them, most of them, once in a while he crosses the line. But usually they're not offensive, they're quite funny, and I enjoy them. The Iran Answer series on YouTube is awesome. Yes, there will be we're starting a new Iran Answer series to be announced soon. So probably early next year, we'll be doing a bunch of new Your Honor Answers videos. Working on that right now. All right. Don't forget to like the show. Don't forget to support the show, YourOnBookShow.com/support. Don't forget to support the show on Patreon and Subscribestar. Monthly contributions are incredibly valued. So if you can go there and make a monthly regular contribution, that way you know exactly what's coming next month. Thank you for all the Super Chat contributors. Really, really, really appreciate that. Particularly those of you who gave in order to scare away, I forget his name. And of course, I will see you all on Thursday. I will not be around the next couple of days. Tomorrow, I'm busy all day. And then Wednesday, I fly to Puerto Rico. So next time we'll talk. Unless I tested positive for COVID. That is, of course, an enigma. So I had to get a COVID test in order to fly to Puerto Rico. So I did a COVID test this afternoon. I'll get the results tomorrow so I can show them at the airport. I also got an antibody test. And to my great disappointment, it was negative. I was hoping to have a positive antibody test and stop having to even think about COVID. But it was negative. So I haven't had COVID, it turns out. Anyway, I will see you all on Thursday. Don't forget to share, subscribes. Thanks, everybody.